Okay, so I've got some materials assigned to these objects, and now I just want to have an image on this wall here. And so there are ways of doing that with materials, but you'll find it's much easier using the tool that's made for it, which is the decal tool. So decals, if you haven't heard that term before, basically just like a sticker. Here's the definition. Something called transfer paper. It's an old idea in design. Wallpaper, I suppose technically is a kind of decal. But with the advent of modern graphic design and all the other things associated with it, I suppose decals became a fairly standard thing. And again, stickers are basically a typical decal. You can read what the difference is if you're interested. I'm not going to bother. Back into Revit, and then you can see I've got this 3D view open that has my section box. So if you are using one of those and you can still see the section box, sometimes it's good to hide it, and you can do that just by selecting the section box. Yep, that's okay. Yep, doesn't matter if you called it something different. So when you select the section box, then you can right click and go to hide in view elements, just to get it out of the way. If you need to see it again, click on the light bulb on your view control bar. That'll make it visible again, and you can even adjust it in this mode. So if I select it in this mode, I can adjust the size. Yeah, you don't need to do anything. You just need to have the 3D view open and make sure you can see inside a wall, inside to one of the interior walls. So you'll find the decal tool on the Insert tab. And it's probably easiest to work with it in a 3D view like this, but it does work in any other view. So you could be in an elevation section or, of course, a plan view. But personally, I find it much easier in a 3D view. And so then you start by clicking on the arrow under decal and then just going to place decal. And it'll come up with a blank list. So you need to start by making a new decal down the bottom. You'll see there's a button that looks like a blank page. And if you click there, you need to give a name. So I might call mine Bath Poster. Just a name for you to remember it. Going to click OK, and then you can see now it's there in the list, but it still doesn't have any settings, and I need to go over to the right to find the Browse button at the top next to Source. So it's in the top right hand corner, you'll see the button with the dots on it, and that's your Browse button. Click there, and well, maybe while I'm doing this I can show you where a lot of the resources that I've put on the P drive for you all live. So I'm sure you're all used to going to this interior design folder on the P drive. Here we are. And then you might have seen there's a material images folder there. Now, you're welcome to copy this, but if you do, you'll find it is huge. So, in interior design, EDUDC interior design, on the P drive. Yep. Yeah, if you change it to list, I know it's annoying when it's there on thumbnails. Yeah, right click or go to views, yeah. Material images. Oh, now look, okay, so I've been trying to reduce it down. I've got it down to 2 gig. It was a lot bigger than that before. So you can copy that whole folder if you want to. But for now, I'm just going to go to Material Images. And then you can see we've got all these subfolders. So before I choose the one I want, I just want to show you some of these images. And this is actually the main reason I'm showing you this. so that you can start building up your own collection of images for materials. So before I choose the image for my poster, let's just look at some of these other folders, like Stoneworks was a good one. So Siteworks, sorry, or Stones. It's going to have, they're both going to have stones in them. So I'll go to Stones. Right, so I've got all these different images. Can any of you tell what format they are? JPEGs, that's right, probably a lot of JPEGs. And then also there are a couple of others that are similar. If you're having trouble remembering them, just have a look down the bottom. So you'll see JPEGs are common, so you definitely should know that one. But then some others that you should maybe start to get used to remembering are PNG. So PNG there, you might have come across those. PNGs, they're like the new JPEG. What about the others? Have you seen any of the others? TIFF? Yeah, TIFF's another good one to know. It's the opposite. So you can compress TIFFs, there are all sorts of options, but basically TIFF is the most full-blown of all of them. So it does the highest quality and gives you the most fiddly options as well. So TIFFs are really good if you need super quality, but if you don't, then JPEGs are usually okay. And then some of these others are just legacy. So bitmaps, a bit of a legacy format. In other words, it's from the old days, but they have to keep it. And then JPEG, so that's good. So you know those. So you can go searching for your own textures. And as I was showing you, I've given you this folder, which is basically one of my collections that I've built up over the years. I've got dozens of these. And so when I'm making material, I'll go searching through these, trying to find something that looks like the thing I'm trying to make. Okay, so here I've got all these different timber textures. I can use those as well in the same way. They're all just JPEG, bitmap, or PNG files. But even with all of these and the dozens of others I've got, I would have millions of texture files in my library. Often I'll still need to go searching online to find the exact one I want. And so that's what you'll need to do as well. So as you're doing your design or trying to come up with your design ideas, you can also be searching for textures. In other words, images like this that have a photo of your material. And so do you remember how to search for textures? Yep. One person, yep, knows, because we've just done it. Okay, so it's easy to remember. What's a texture? So let's say timber, okay, or wood. So wood, I don't know what wood I want yet. So I'm just looking for a wood, but then the keywords when you're looking for a texture are texture. That one's easy. And then the other one, you can see it's already come up, seamless. Why do you think you might want them to be seamless? Yeah, pretty much that's it. It repeats without seams. Yep. Possibly, yeah. Yep. Now, when you search for seamless, they're not always seamless anyway. You will sometimes get a seam. But it's definitely better than getting the ones that aren't seamless. So, so these textures generally are designed to repeat without the seam where they join being obvious. So that's for materials. But if it's a decal, it's probably not as important for it to be seamless. So you can just search for any old image. And what's an artist I haven't done recently? Picasso. Here we go. So these are all JPEGs images as well. So I'm going to get one of these and do you want to know how to save images from the internet? Yep, that's it. Right click, save picture as, and make sure you know where it's going. So I'm going to save this into the same folder, material images, and then I have a paintings folder there. And I don't know the name of this painting. It's, I think, part of that series he did when he first came up with Cubism. But, yeah, that doesn't matter. So I've saved that image. So I'm going to show you now, back into Revit. I can choose that from paintings. Might kind of see it. There it is. Okay, and that's it. So all I've done really is given this decal a name and chosen a file. Nothing else to it. So I'm going to click OK. And now you'll see as I move the cursor, it's got a rectangle that will come up on my walls. You can also put them on the floors, so you can see there it's going onto the floor. But I do want this to go onto the wall, so I'll put it over here. And so a nice thing you can do these days is have, say, a tile finish, and then you can just have some of the tiles done with a custom tile, and you can do that with decals as well. So it's yeah. Yeah, yeah. Yes, yeah, yeah. That was just a particular project we did. So they're mostly chairs, but they are just different pieces of furniture. No, it's from a certain, like it was from a project we did in here. We just had a few particular things. So, oh yeah, so once you've got the image in there, that part shouldn't be too hard as long as you remember those basic steps. Then if you want to change the size, it's easiest to come back afterwards and stretch it. And you can easily unlock the proportions if you want to choose that tick box there to unlock it if you want to change the proportions. But maybe with an artwork you wouldn't want that. So it works well for things on the walls, but also for things on the floor, so for rugs and other things like that. So if I go and show you there, I do have a... oh, I did have a rugs folder. I don't. Yeah, it can be, yeah. So I don't do it for all your finishes, but yeah, for unique things, usually that's when it's the best. So even things that aren't pictures, so rugs are a really good example, and here we go. So if you can find a flat image of some sort of rug, like this maybe, that should work pretty well. Okay, so I can save that. And I'll just save it into the same folder. That'll do. Okay, so again, just like before, I can go to decal, place decal. The second time you do it, you've got to just click on Edit Types and then Edit to get the dialog box back to change the settings. So the first time this comes up automatically, but the second time you need to go into it manually, and then again click the Browse button, and you can choose... oh, sorry, before Browse, so what did I forget? Duplicate. This is bath poster. I'm going to call this bath rug. There we go, now I can change it. And, oh, there we go, I did have rugs there, don't know why I missed that. So, I'll choose the one I chose, but there we are, so I can just place that roughly on the floor and then come back, fine tune the size. If you wanted to make that white border a bit better or take it away altogether, what do you think you should be doing then? And what would you need to do? Just thinking about, so? Yeah, crop it. How would you crop it? That's the right tool. Yeah, no, cropping is right. That's what you would do. So what tool, what program would you use to crop it? You could try that actually. You could do it now these days. It's got a tool for that, but there's an easier way. What's the best program for working with these files? And this is really what I'm trying to get you thinking about, how to work with Photoshop. That's right. So all the things I've been showing you are to do with setting up pixel-based images. In other words, JPEGs or any of those other formats. So what you'll find you'll do quite often, especially with decoration projects, but also a lot of interior design projects, you can often do quite basic geometry, and then you get a lot of the detail in your perspectives and the other views you do in Revit by doing a nice texture, and quite often you'll do the work to modify those in Photoshop. So maybe I can just show you that quickly because I know you haven't done a lot of Photoshop so far. No, that's right, yeah. So, because you haven't had your presentation subject yet, have you? No. So I will show you some Photoshop as we go along because you'll find it does help when you're working with Revit. So right-clicking on an image file, any image file in this computer room, we can go to Open with Photoshop. Should open up pretty quickly. And I know you haven't had the presentation subject yet, but Photoshop is a program that you should probably try to get hold of before that, and even try to start working with it before then. It's fairly intuitive. You can probably work out a lot of things yourself. And so here I've opened up that file and noticed that the crop tool is the first thing that comes up. And you can just bring the sides in by dragging. There we go, that's getting better, but I might just go in a bit more just to get rid of the border altogether. That'll do. Okay, so I'm going to save this with a new name. I'm going to put crop at the end. So back in Revit, I can just change that over if I select it and go to Edit Type, Edit the decal, and then I can browse and choose my new image. So it's lost the border. So a lot of the work you do once you start working with materials can be done with Photoshop. And it's really important for decoration because, I mean, I know this morning some of you were, well, people have gone unfortunately, but some people were wondering about things like curtains and other soft furnishings. And it's important that you realise that doing those things in a CAD program is a huge amount of work. They're organic and quite complex geometrically, but you don't need to create those things in CAD programs usually because they're not specified in the same way. You don't give exact measurements for those things. So you'll often just draw them by hand in some cases, or once you've developed the skills with Photoshop, you'll do overlays, getting a photo of your curtain or your furnishing and putting that over the top of the drawings that you'll produce with Revit or AutoCAD. So I just want to start you off on that. You'll be doing a lot more Photoshop when you do your presentation subject, but try to get some different textures into your model, and also if you can start collecting any textures, be design. If it's a 3D thing, you mean?
No, like if it's like a food with a flat view.
Yeah, yeah.
You need to put that into
Yeah, I know what you mean.
aspects that
That's right, exactly. I know what you mean, yeah. So yeah, I know exactly what you mean because that's a common technique. So furnishing is a really good example. You might have a chair that is really complicated, like because it's all soft cushions and other things. So you wouldn't want that as a 3D model, even if you could get it. Often you don't want to bring those into Revit because they're just going to be too complicated. So the normal way of doing those things, especially for decoration, is to get a photo, like you're saying, a 2D photo that's at the right angle and just overlaying that on top of your perspective. So sometimes that means that you might need to adjust the perspective view in Revit as well to match the photo of the chair that you know you've got that you have to work with. So yeah, so think about those things as well. That's really good. That you can a little bit, yeah. They've got the perspective warp tool in Photoshop now, but that's all Photoshop. You won't do that in Revit. You'll just set up the base camera. So yeah, I'll probably just leave it at that. But also try to make some camera views as well to start to view these things in different ways. So maybe that is something I can just remind you about, but we'll do more on this definitely later on. So just to finish up, I'll make a camera. Oh yeah, that's normal, it will. Yep, so you'll only see the image in a realistic view. And I'll come and have a look at it in a sec. So all I'm going to do now is just quickly make a camera view in the corner of the bathroom, looking in the direction of those images. I'm in a hidden line view, so I've just got the black outline. And my rug is below my view as well. That's okay, I can just expand the view, stretching the corners. But then to see the images, what do I need to do? Do you want to see the images on the decals? Exactly, to realistic, exactly, that's right, that's the thing to remember. So here, you won't see it even in shaded, you'll see the colours, but you need to be on realistic to see the actual pictures. There we go. So it'll help you a lot if you make perspective views to show the things that you've been creating as you make them. So just make sure you're doing that as well.